Hello, welcome to the Mystics on a Mission show. Very excited to have Tasha Blank on the show today. She is an amazing musician based in New York City. She is a really cool person, and what's funny is that I listen to her music while I'm working. She has a really cool video that is called We Came to Dance, and she also creates really awesome tracks, and she has all her music up on SoundCloud. So I'm just really excited to have her here. It's like you're getting a peek into my office day while I'm working, and it's just really, really excited to have you.
Yeah.
So, hi, Tasha.
Hey, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, Tasha is the founder of The Get Down, and she lives in service of dance, which is the quickest path to love in the here and now. She creates events that disrupt the status quo by injecting incredible beats with the intention to let wild our most liberated badassery. A mainstay at high-energy New York City dance parties, space-heavy yoga events, and the international festival circuit, her DJ sets meet you in the moment and invite you on a physiosonic trip into a newer and bigger you. Her weekly emails deliver inspirational words and extraordinary beats to thousands of music-hungry dancing maniacs. And most importantly, she loves you. Awesome. So, Tasha, I would love to get started by hearing a little bit about your story. What made you build this business and become a DJ?
Quite honestly, I don't feel like I could have really done much else. It's been a big process, a big journey, all very organic. And, I think when we decide to do anything, whether it's get sort of a regular office job or pursue our dreams as an entrepreneur, it's going to be difficult and challenging. And I just chose the thing that felt like it was worth that challenge, and that it felt like I had sort of a burning desire for inside of me that was enough to overcome resistance and fear and challenges. And yeah, so I always say it never felt like I really had a choice, because there's nothing that I loved more than dancing and music. But it was quite a process to figure out how to make it into a business. So do you want to hear how that happened?
Sure. Tell us about it.
So when it's quite a long story that begins way, way back. I was a pre-professional dancer in high school and identified as a dancer and loved it. But the deeper I got into the professional dance world, the sadder I got. And kind of the more the joy got sucked out of it for me. So I quit, and long story short, got pretty off my path and had a life crisis, and then changed everything. And by the time I was 21, I found myself dancing to electronic music for the first time at Burning Man, and having this incredible, liberating experience of really dancing my dance as opposed to dancing somebody else's choreography, and feeling totally free and liberated and just ecstatic and alive and more like myself than I'd ever felt. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is what I was searching for all those years when I was in the dance world. And this is the most amazing music I've ever heard, because I'd never really heard real good electronic music on real good sound systems. So in that moment, I decided that I wanted to figure out how to access that state of consciousness and that sort of freedom whenever I wanted. And went on a bit of a journey around that, and eventually discovered something called 5 Rhythms, which is an amazing movement practice that I still do. I'm going tonight. I go every week. And that really became my laboratory for exploring movement and myself. And at a certain point, I graduated college, and I was trying to figure out what to do. And I was a health coach for a little while, because I knew that I really wanted to help people, and I was really into healing. But it took me a while to realize that this thing that I loved more than anything, dancing, was something that I could actually make my life about. I think there was something about it that because it was so nourishing and fun and amazing that my mind didn't equate it with work, or something that could be a viable business. But eventually I loved it so much that I had to figure out how to pursue it. So I just started throwing dance parties. This is back in 2009. And the first one I threw was like 10 in the morning at a bowling alley and in the middle of a snowstorm, and 10 people came. And it was just sort of like, okay, I'm here. This is what I got to work with, this is the best I can do. So here I am, and I'm going to see how this develops. And that organically developed into doing it at other venues and growing a bit of a community. And I spent a few years throwing dance parties that were completely not sustainable financially. I was paying DJs and musicians and all sorts of people and taking over spaces where I had to bring in a sound system. And it was really sort of this process of cutting my teeth and learning a lot about producing events. And turns out events are quite difficult to make money off of. And so I hit a wall at a certain point with that, because it wasn't becoming more sustainable. It was sort of like always maybe breaking even if I was lucky. And at the end of the night, the DJs would walk home having just had a job and, had been paid. And I was the annoying event producer who actually would tell the DJs what to play, because I have such a specific taste in music. And now I look back and I cringe. I can't believe that I did that. But it was like, here I am. I love music so much. I have such a specific vision for what I want the music to be. But again, it was that kind of thing where I love music so much. I remember making radio shows with my best friend when I was in 4th grade. We would like tape ourselves on the little boombox and then tape off the radio songs. And I've just always been obsessed with music, but I couldn't equate that to making money or making a business, because it was just like fun and just pure love. But again, at a certain point, it was like, well, what else am I going to do besides learn to DJ? Like it just became clear that I had to. And so I took a break from the big events and I started doing smaller little classes in a yoga studio. I would bring in a yoga teacher and I'd DJ a yoga portion, then we would dance. And that was really where I had my sort of DJing boot camp and learned how to mix and watch how the music was affecting people's bodies. And then I would post the mix every week on Facebook. So I would share it. I would record it knowing that it was going to go out into the world as well as be heard by the people who were in the room. And then at a certain point, many months into doing that every week, I approached this venue in New York called Cielo, which is an incredible, incredible club. And they have the best sound system in the city, and they've been around. They're probably sort of the longest standing amazing club in New York. And I had a friend who had just done a really successful event there, so he introduced me to them. And I said, so what do you guys do with the space before you open your doors at 10 p.m. to the public? And they were like, well, usually nothing. And so I said, could I use it from 7 to 10 and have a little dance party? And we worked out an agreement. They gave me a discount, and because it was really no skin off their backs. And I started a new party called the Get Down, and spent several months. I mean, it was maybe 6 months of never knowing if it was going to work. We would get people, and they would come, and it would be fun, but it wasn't really my vision. I had this vision of it being this epic party of everyone bouncing at the same time, and just this room full of people loving up on each other. And I actually just learned this year from the manager. Apparently the owner of the club approached the manager at a certain point and was like, I don't think that we should keep doing this here. I'm not sure it's working. And the manager saw the potential in it. He's like, no, we got to keep doing this. And sure enough, over the course of a couple of years, it's really built, and it's been 3.5 years now, and we sell out, and it's packed, and the community is just amazing. And I mean, through that, and also through teaching some yoga stuff, like I now play all over, and do festivals, and we've done stuff all over the US and internationally a bit. And it's all been really organic and just meeting people and forming relationships. I'm just now starting to work with an agent. So up until this point, it's been all me, just kind of like feeling my way in the dark and making it work.
Mm. I love this so much because I feel like sometimes it's so easy to think, oh yeah, I just have to find my passion, and then when I know that, everything's going to be easy.
Yeah.
But I love what you said. Like either way, like whatever I do, it doesn't matter if I go into law school or if it doesn't matter if I keep working as a dancer or whatever it is that you choose. It's always going to be really, really hard.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really had to learn. And even just being exposed to so many stories about overnight successes, and I made 6 figures within like the first 2 months of starting my business. That was not my experience at all. And it's so good to hear from people who say, I had this passion. I didn't see it for such a long time, even though it was so obvious. And it just took years until it actually took off. And I really, really struggled, even though it was my biggest passion. And I just devoted myself to, like you said, like feeling it out in the dark and not knowing what's going to happen. And you did it anyway. And I feel like so many of us are in that space, and it's so easy to give up when you don't see where it's actually going to lead you.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to hear about that.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I think, I actually had the blessing of graduating college in 2008 when the US economy kind of bottomed out. And so I couldn't really find a job anyway. And I was like, well, I'm not making money either way, so I might as well do the thing that I love. And it's the kind of thing where I feel like, especially now that it's so easy to create a platform, it's like, why not do the thing that you would do even if you weren't getting paid? Because actually you probably won't get paid for a little while. And so to have that love for it, even if you're not getting paid. And I think the biggest lesson I learned while in this process was about patience. At the beginning, I wanted every single month I would show up to this event and I'd be like, tonight's going to be the night. This is going to be the breakthrough. Now it's going to start working. And every time I would be disappointed because it was like I had a big pile of dough sitting in front of me. And I was like, I'm ready for the cake. Where's the cake? Instead of being like, well, there's some more ingredients that you have to go get, and you have to get the recipe, and you have to give it time in the oven to bake, and then you got to get the frosting. And it's like everything takes time. And yeah, we hear these stories of overnight successes and stories about 6 figures, but really, is 6 figures your ultimate goal? Or I think there have been studies done that say that money affects happiness in terms of your income up to about $70,000. So if you're making under $70,000 a year, then, if you're making 25 versus 60, that will actually affect your happiness and your quality of life. But if you're making over $70,000, it doesn't make a difference if you're making $80,000 or $1 million a year. Happiness is the same. It's like once those basic needs are covered, like once I'm not worrying, can I pay my rent this month? Can I eat this month? Then it doesn't matter. And you might as well be doing something that you love.
Yeah. And I also feel like many people who talk about wanting to make that amount of money and having those income goals, when I ask them why this is so important to them, they tell me, well, then I could hire a VA and I would be able to only do the things in my business that I really love. And then, then I could go to all these leadership retreats and actually study the things that I really want to know. Or, well, then I could, invest in that part of my business, which I'm really, really excited about developing. So it's really funny that sometimes we want to hit those goals because then we think that that's going to liberate us and help us do even more of the things that we're really interested in.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I so connected with what you said in the very beginning because I also have a background of dancing. And it almost felt like I retired from being a dancer right before I graduated from high school, and I graduated from high school in Germany. So I was about 18 or 19 years old, and that was when I just quit cold turkey. And I started dancing when I was 12, and I was like a diehard dancer. I thought that that was going to be my life. I was dancing every day of the week. I was so in it. I was, really good at it. And so I was also working as a choreographer and just a die-hard dancer. And then at one point, just out of nowhere, I said, hell no, I can't do this anymore. After standing on stage and just freezing up and feeling like my entire body just didn't want to dance anymore. Sitting in front of the mirror for hours per day was just really, really taxing on me. And I had so many psychological issues. And I just started really resenting dancing. And dancing for me was like the thing that I wanted to do because it made me feel more alive than anything in this world. Until this day, I have to say dancing is the thing that heals me the most. People always say you have to feel it to heal it. I have to dance it to feel it, and then I can heal it.
Heard.
So I feel like dancing is like the ultimate medicine. There's nothing like it for me, but I had to allow myself to get back into really dancing the way that my body wants to dance. And it almost feels like now when I go to a 5 rhythms class or to an ecstatic dance or when I do kuya or anything like this, that's more of like the freestyle dance. I feel like I'm almost like healing the wounds that I got as a professional dancer.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about how that journey was for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of it as even though they're both called dance, it's like the opposite thing. Like traditional classical choreographed dance is like dancing from the outside in, whereas freeform movement that's intuitive is dancing from the inside out. And it's absolutely, I feel the same way. It's been the most healing modality that I have found, and it's the quickest way to reconnect. I mean, Gabrielle Roth, who formed the 5 Rhythms, she's an amazing teacher. I recommend all of her books. She used to call it trizophrenia. We feel one thing, think another, and do another. and we're split. It's like we're walking around these split personalities all the time, and dancing reintegrates our body, mind, and actions. And every week, I mean, ideally I get to that dance floor more than once a week, but at least once a week. It's like cleaning house. You go and I bring everything that's been stored up. I mean, we're processing so much information and so much life now. We process more information in a week now than our ancestors 100 years ago processed in a lifetime. Like, our brains are so overloaded with everything going on. So it's very difficult to really not have things get stuck. And so I go every week, and it's like just cleaning it out. And I think of it as it's like brushing your teeth, but you're brushing your body from the inside out. And because of these things, it's like we think of the body and mind as separate, but really it's one thing, body and mind. Or I think of it as like body, mind. And so if we have a belief or we have an emotion that we've been hanging on to, it lives somewhere in our bodies, even if it's something unconscious that formed when we were a little kid. And there's ways to access those things and literally shake them out by sort of going in from the opposite direction and just moving it out. And so I'll have experiences on the dance floor where I have memories, or I feel something that I have been avoiding and I've been sort of pushing down, and it's like I push it down into the body, but then the body shakes it out. And I'm like, oh, there's that thing I was avoiding. Now I actually have to feel it, and then I can actually let it go because I'm moving through it instead of just wishing that it didn't exist.
Yeah. And I also love that what's coming up is not what you want to see. What comes up is what needs to come up. Mm-hmm. And especially what I love about your music is that, yes, it's house music, it's electronic, like it's that style of music, but it has like these different landscapes. And so you're exploring different parts of you that maybe in your everyday life, or if you just went to your favorite club, you wouldn't be exposed to. And so sometimes when I listen to one of your mixes, you know, there's a song that is uncomfortable for me. And I'm like, I don't know if I like this. No, that's weird. And this is where I notice that, you know, there's like a part of me that I just haven't made peace with yet. It's like, I don't know how to dance to this music. Like this rhythm is new for me. And I'm just thinking about it in like an archetypal sense. It's really interesting when we have those mixes, or even in a 5 rhythms class, if like something comes up and we just don't know how to deal with that part of ourselves, and we don't know how to deal with that emotion that's coming up, or we just don't know how to let our body move to this rhythm because our body knows how to do it. It's just that sometimes I'm like, I've stuffed this part of myself down so deeply that I just can't connect with it. And that's what I love so much about it, because you just go there or you listen to the music, and I always feel like I have such a bigger range afterwards. It feels like parts of myself have been awakened that, you know, would have kept dormant if I went to like a concert of my favorite band. I just recently went to see the Temper Trap, which I love, but I really realized how it's like it's this one part of myself that I'm so comfortable with, and this is why I'm so drawn to this music. So that's something that I also feel is so healing and so cool about listening to that kind of music.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you can also look at it like as a metaphor, you know, so here's this song that I really don't like, and how do I move through something in life when something is presented to me that I don't want to deal with, it's not up to my preferences, you know, it's not my taste, because we're confronted with stuff like that every single day. So it's like, do we resist, or do we figure out how to dance with it and how to engage?
I love it. Yeah.
I love about the dance floor is like everything is a metaphor. You know, when you dance with somebody else, you're like, oh, this explains my whole relationship history. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that you have to figure it out then. It's not that you have that sense of inspiration of, oh, I leave the dance floor and something doesn't work for me. Or, oh, you know, I keep stepping on that person's toes and I know this about myself now. It's not that you just have the information, but you actually dance it out. Like you said, like, what am I going to do then? Am I going to pay attention to not step on their toes all the time? Or am I going to stay and just close my eyes and let my body feel into the music, as opposed to staying in my mind and feeling like, it sucks. It's really healing, because you get to have this healing experience right away as well, as opposed to going to therapy for 20 years and trying to figure it out in your mind.
Although I would say I feel like therapy is a great counterpart, you know, and dancing isn't enough, you know, I don't think there's any one modality that's a cure-all for everything. So I like to think of healing as we have all these tools that address things from all different sides, and the more sides, the better, you know, because there will be stuff that comes up in the dance that's worth talking about. And then there's stuff that will come up, you know, in a therapy session where you're like, oh, this, I didn't, you know, like, oh, I got to move this out. So,
yeah. It's just really cool to integrate it all and to use all those different modalities together. Awesome. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the challenges that you've had as you were, you know, building this business.
Sure. Do you have any specific ones that you wanted to hear about, or specific questions?
Maybe some of the challenges that taught you the most. You already talked about how you learned about patience. So what else did you have to learn as a result of having experienced some kind of challenge?
Yes. So patience was probably the biggest for me. And asking for help is really important. You know, it's hard to do things on your own. And I know, especially in the US, but perhaps this is true elsewhere, there's this idea of like self-reliance, and it's best if you can do it alone. And I always felt like I had to figure it all out by myself. And what I've learned over the years is, number one, you can't. We need help. That's why there's more than one person on this planet, is because we all bring different tools and abilities and preferences and talents to the table, and the more the better. And it's also just more fun with your friends. I now almost always have some sort of live element to my DJ sets, whether it's my MC Akil or my percussionist AJ, or I bring in horn sections, and I work with lots of different kinds of people. But when I have a DJ set by myself, it's still great. There's nothing I like doing better. And I'm kind of like, where are my friends? I want somebody back here with me, doing this with me. Because it's, there's maybe some romance to being like the person up there behind the DJ booth and having that like power control. But at the end of the day, it's so not about that. And it's like, what can we give? And how can we make this experience the most powerful for the group? And I know that I am the most effective when I'm having fun. And I'm generally having the most fun when I have my friends with me. So that was a big one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So has there anyone been on your journey who you feel has helped you and has helped you become the person that you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people. From the beginning, I would say my big sister was always my biggest influence. She's 10 years older, so I got the benefit of a lot of her life experience. And then several really dear friends. And then I had a partner for many years who really was my biggest cheerleader as I developed the business. And it was really great to have somebody who really believed in me. And even when I was struggling, still saw my potential and saw what I was here to do. I would say surrounding yourself with people who can reflect what you're here to do and how great you really are, even when your outside success might not be reflecting that yet, is really, really important. Because I think we can often look to our accomplishments as a way of of forming our identity. And if you identify too much with just how much money you've made or how many people came to your thing or read your book or listened to your album or whatever, it's a very limited perspective. And so, number one is learning to hold your perspective for yourself and reflect how awesome you are. And then also surrounding yourself with the people who love and support you no matter what. And yeah, I have a couple of really incredible performance partners who do that for me as well, and who we've been working together for a long time, and we've sort of seen we've been lifting each other up as we've gone, and all of our careers have been developing together, and it's really cool to kind of grow up and get better together and sort of get closer to mastery together. Yeah. So there's so many people, the manager at Cielo at this club who said to the owner, nope, I think she's onto something. That's huge.
Yeah. Oh, I can so relate to this because my insecurity is so strong, and I don't think I would have followed through with anything if I didn't have people around me who talk some sense into me. Pretty much all the time. I meet with a bunch of friends twice per week, and it is like a solid thing in my schedule. Mondays and Fridays, I meet with between like 8 and 9 women, and we all have to share about our businesses and about our lives and all that stuff. And it's so, so helpful to just have people who you share the journey with. It's really, really powerful. And I don't know if you've ever struggled with insecurity, but for me, it's always such a big topic because it's so easy to really look at all the numbers and think, oh my God, nobody's caring. I just wanted to sell this thing and nobody bought it. And even, it doesn't matter who I talk to. It doesn't matter, how established people are in their businesses. Everyone has a story where nobody cared what they created and nobody came to their thing, or, it was just crickets after months of really pouring their heart and soul into something. And it's so easy to become impatient and then to get really down on ourselves when in reality, that's something that most people really struggle with.
Yeah.
And yeah. And also, I just can't keep myself up all the time. I feel like I'm doing so much inner work by myself. Sometimes I just need somebody else to be like, Hannah, you're doing well. Remember, it's not
Yeah.
so bad. It's really
Yeah.
helpful.
Especially in this day and age of social media. I mean, I think anyone who hasn't at a certain point struggled with insecurity is probably a sociopath. Like, we all get scared and insecure and afraid and down on ourselves. And there's not one of us that's spared that full spectrum of like humanity. It's just part of the ride. And what else is I going to say? Oh yeah. So when we're seeing, the Instagram feed, basically I heard it as compared to like looking at somebody's highlight reel and comparing it to our own behind the scenes, which is totally unfair. And so self-forgiveness, self-love, it's all practice. I think I definitely am getting better at noticing those thoughts of impatience or I'm not good enough or whatever it is, and being like, no, I'm going to choose to be a little more loving. And I know that I'll actually be more effective if I am loving and having a good time and treating myself well. I will be able to show up for my work so much better and to show up for other people, and to have the most fun. It's like the way that you are in the process of doing your business, of creating whatever it is they're creating, is how the creation is going to turn out. So if you're berating yourself and being impatient, that's going to affect the final product.
That's so true. And I just love what you said, because that's really my intention with creating this show anyway. It's really easy. Like, when in the beginning, it was so incredibly hard for me when I started my business, because I got so many well-meant pieces of advice about, oh, you should do this more, and if you want to be like this, you have to do this, and you have to do this. And really what I needed was for somebody to really just believe in me, as opposed to give me all these pieces of advice. And I felt overwhelmed anyway, because I felt like everybody had their shit together but me. I felt like everybody's Instagram feed looked so perfect, and everybody's website was so amazing, and everything that they created was so original and so awesome. And like you said, it's the highlight reel. But as I really made friends in my industry and in other people's industries, a common theme that came up was, it was hard for me too, Hannah. And, I didn't just fall here, Hannah. And, I got to hear the real stories of what it's like for those people to run their businesses. And some people have really big established businesses, but they still have money worries, and they still have limiting beliefs that are really, really keeping them stuck and just not making it fun for them to even get out of bed sometimes in the morning. And that's just the reality. And it's a spiritual path. It's something that teaches us to grow, and it takes time sometimes, and it teaches us things that we might not want to learn, like patience. And so, yeah, I'm just really grateful that you're being so honest about this, because the last thing I want to do is create even more profiles of people who made it, because I feel like that's not necessarily what we need right now, because everyone's creating like their own really authentic version of their business, and it just looks always different for each and every person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of our conversation. I would love to just ask you a couple of smaller questions.
Sure.
So what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote? That is a really good question. I love quotes. I write them down all the time. I mean, one that comes to mind, just because I've been talking about Gabrielle Roth, she's like on my mind. She used to say, "The only way out is through."
Mm-hmm.
And that idea that you can't just wish something away or, it really escape anything. The only way to, and that reminds me of a Bukowski quote, which is, "What matters most is how well you walk through the fire." It's like, you got to walk through the fire. So how are you going to do it? Are you going to complain and avoid it and wish that it wasn't hot, or are you going to embrace it and do the best you can?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What are you really, really excited about right now?
Right now, I am really excited to be beginning my first record, which is a new thing. I've made some tracks, but I haven't released anything officially yet. And so I'm bringing together a really incredible, like I said about collaboration, incredible group of co-producers and musicians to make a pretty grand vision for some original music that will be out in 2017.
Oh my God, it's coming out in the next year. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool to hear about that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that this whole journey has really been a process of identifying things that I've never done / are scary / intimidating, and realizing that I can do them and I just haven't done it yet. And so this is sort of the next level, because once you do it, it becomes normal. Like now everything I do is my life and it's normal. But if 5 years ago me looked at my life now, she'd be blown away.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at this album, I mean, I've never made an album, and I'm really figuring it out as I go, but I know that in 6 months, 8 months from now, it's going to be something that I've done and then I'll probably do again, which is exciting.
That's such a cool and helpful perspective to have. I just recently started doing that too, and I have in my journal, Hannah, you're going to thank yourself 3 months from now if you do this. And sometimes I read it in my journal and I'm like, yeah, so what could I do today that I'm going to really be grateful for? Should I take a surfing class and like try and become a better surfer? Because it's true. We just have to do it once and then, get the hang of it, and it will be totally different.
Totally.
Down the line. Yeah. It's really cool. So what's a book that you are really in love with?
Book that I'm really in love with. I'm reading like 5 books right now. Can I give you 3?
Yes.
Okay. I'm reading Amanda Palmer's The Art of Asking, which is really amazing. And Amanda Palmer is a total badass. I think everyone listening to this show will really dig her. She's super inspiring and a great artist. I'm also reading a book called Broken Open, which I'm forgetting the name of the author, but she's one of the co-founders of the Omega Institute. Really beautiful for anyone sort of going through the fire, shall we say, of life. And it's kind of a memoir of hers, and she also brings in other people's stories as well. But and then the third one is Pussy by Regina Thomasauer.
Oh, she's awesome.
Which is epic. And I think every woman or every person who loves women should read it.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're at the end of our conversation. If you guys want to hear Tasha's music, and if you want to read her writings, she has a really awesome newsletter. And if you want to attend her gigs, get her event schedule and all that good stuff, just go over to tashablank.com. She's also on SoundCloud, Instagram, and all that good stuff. So, Tasha, it was really, really nice to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for having been here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, everyone, and talk again soon.